Morning everyone, today I'm going to be sharing 5 tips for cold weather photography. So it's pretty cold today, it's about -1, and with the wind chill factor it's feeling like about -3 or 4, so pretty chilly, but I don't want to let that stop me. I've come out to surprise view today in the Peak District, and I'm hopefully going to get some good photos, and along the way I'm going to be sharing the tips which might help you out if you're going out in cold weather and getting images too. I've come a little late today and I don't want to miss golden hour, so I'm going to do it a little bit differently today. I'm going to head up there pretty quickly, get the photos along the way, then I'll share the tips and I'll show the photos at the end. So let's head on. Okay, the light's going in now, but I think I got some shots and I'll be showing all those at the end of the video, so stick around for those. Okay, so tip number 1, acclimatise your gear. When you come out from a warm environment into a cold one, or the other way around, you're going to get fog and condensation forming on your lenses, and it can also lead to long-term damage where it can degrade the electrics and get inside the camera and things like that, so you really want to avoid it if possible. The best way to do that is to let your camera and gear acclimatise to the temperatures before you get to your location. I find the best way to do that is to put your camera in your bag with the lens cap on, put it in the boot of your car, because the boot of your car is not heated usually, and it'll gradually get colder as you get to your location, and by the time you get there it will have matched the cold temperatures at your location, and then you should avoid getting the mist and condensation on your gear. Tip number 2, make sure you're wearing appropriate clothing for the conditions and temperatures of your location. You don't want to get there and find out you're really uncomfortable and cold, because you're not going to get good images if you're not feeling comfortable. I always make sure I'm wearing a base layer, which is either synthetic materials or merino wool. You don't want to go for cotton, because if you sweat it's going to get wet, and when your body temperature cools down that's going to be even colder still. I've got waterproof ski pants on, they're lined so they're really warm. I'm wearing good waterproof boots and thick socks. I've also got a fleece, waterproof jacket, my woolly hat, so I'm really warm, comfortable. Recently Valorette sent me these gloves. They're the Markov Pro V3 photography gloves, and they're great for getting out in cold conditions and making sure you can still carry on and do your photography. They're made of goat's leather and they're 100% merino wool lined with thin insulation, so they're really good for keeping your hands warm. But the best thing is they've got these fingertips and thumb tips on each hand which fold back, and there's little magnetic buttons to hold them in place, so they're going to keep your hands warm but they're not too bulky, and it allows you to continue using your camera and your controls if they're quite fiddly. I've also got little zip pockets in the back so you can keep memory cards in there and it'll keep them warm. They've got good grips on the palms, and all around they're just really good. You can tell these are going to last a long time, so I'm going to put a link in the description below where you can get a pair of these. Tip number 3, keep your batteries warm. I said earlier to let your gear acclimatise in the boot of your car, but don't put your batteries in there. Keep those separate and keep them warm, because when batteries get cold they deplete more quickly and they're less efficient. I like to keep one of these bags around my waist, so it's close to my body and underneath my jacket, and that way all my batteries are nice and warm. And then if I need to get a spare out, it's not going to die too quickly. Okay, so tip number 4, get out nice and early. I didn't get any snow today, unfortunately. I think there was some forecast, but we didn't quite get any, just some rain, which is making quite a nice rainbow. But if you do get snow, make sure you get out nice and early. You don't want to get out and find that people have walked through the snow and left footprints everywhere, or if it's getting warmer later in the day, it's all melted. So get out nice and early and get that nice, clean, crisp, fresh snow. And while we're on the subject of snow, let's jump straight into tip number 5. Use exposure compensation. If you're taking a photo of a snowy scene, you're obviously going to have lots of white in your image. And the metering on your camera, although it's quite good in modern cameras, can often get it wrong when you've got lots of white. It can sometimes make the scene look too grey because it's trying to compensate for all that extra white. So use exposure compensation on your camera to adjust that metering. If you don't do a lot of editing with your images, you might want to overexpose slightly. So increase your exposure compensation by a stop or so. And that'll just make your whites a bit brighter if your image is looking too grey. However, you might blow out your highlights like that. So what I like to do is underexpose slightly. So I'll actually go -1 stop with my exposure compensation, and then later on when I'm editing in Lightroom, I can bring the detail back in the shadows and all my whites are nice and crisp and white, but not overexposed or blown out. Okay, so that's all my tips. I've got my photos already. Like I said, I'll show you those at the end of the video. I'm going to head back to the car, get home now, and see what the photos are like. I'll see you back there. So a particularly cold morning, but Surprise View is a great location and it's always nice to get out there. You can get some really nice light in winter. The sun's low in the sky and you get really nice golden hour light. So I didn't want to let things like weather or temperature stop me from getting out. It's just about being prepared and making sure you've got everything you need to stay nice and comfortable during your shoot. There was just enough cloud in the sky to add interest, but not too much to block out all the nice golden warm light that was coming down over the landscape. So I was reasonably pleased with the images that I got, and I'll put them up on screen now. So that's nearly it for this video. I hope I've inspired you to get out, whatever the weather or temperature, and get shooting some photos. And if you found the tips useful, please give me a thumbs up down below. If you've watched it all the way through the video this far and you're not yet subscribed, then please consider doing so. As I always say, you can click down here on the big red button, or over here on my face, and that way you'll stay up to date with everything I'm doing each and every week. There's a new video every Sunday morning, 10 AM UK time. So thanks a lot for watching everyone, and I hope you'll catch me next week for the next one. Until then, cheers, bye for now.